Hello everyone again. We are back again for the month of May, our Transdev safety meeting. And once again, same rules apply. Okay? Once you have completed this video, you must report to the training department, see myself, Christian, or Jamie, and receive the sign-off and quiz. Yes, once again, we do have a quiz, so please pay attention to everything that happens in this video. It could be part of the quiz. It's very imperative, guys, that you do this. Be in communication. I am well aware that there is a new bid that just started recently, and some of your schedules are beyond wonky. Okay? So please, if you need to communicate with me, please come to my office, get a card, contact dispatch to get my number. I'm more than willing to flex out my schedule to help you get this done. So let's get started with this meeting with our first video. Yes, we still have videos, and they are our Transdev videos. Attentive driving. It is imperative that we pay attention on the road, looking ahead, looking around, leaving room, communicating. These are essential in attentive driving. You are to remain as focused as possible. I have clearly stated many times, there's no such thing as a 100% perfect driver, but there is such a thing as a great defensive driver, and that is very important, that we constantly avoid distractions and remain focused on the road. So I hope this information works out for you and for your safety.
Hey there, folks. Welcome back. My name is Hassan, and I'm a safety manager at Transdev. I've been following along this year's monthly safety initiative just like you. Now, I'm happy to take the reins from Davis and keep the perfect safety day call to action going. Today, we're continuing our discussion on attentive driving. We introduced this topic earlier in the year, and it's one of the 6 ways that you, as a Transdev operator, can make today a perfect safety day. Attentive driving simply means you employ the many defensive driving techniques you already have in order to keep your focus on the road. It's a foundation for being a safe professional driver. I'm sure you all remember that a perfect safety day is a day without a preventable motor vehicle accident, a day without a passenger or pedestrian injury requiring transport to the hospital, or a day without any OSHA recordable employee injuries. Now, we can't achieve a perfect safety day without attentive driving. If you want to prevent accidents and keep yourself and others safe, you need to look ahead, you need to look around, you need to leave room on all 6 sides of your vehicle. You need to communicate to the other drivers and pedestrians. The definition of distracted driving is any activity that pulls your attention away from the road. It's no secret that lots of people out there drive distracted. They mess with the radio, eat and drink, you gotta have that fry, text, you name it. However, that's not an option for you. You're a professional driver, and you know better. The amateurs on the road, pedestrians, and your passengers all rely on you to keep them safe. Last time we discussed the dangers of distracted driving, we shared some staggering data, like the fact that 9 people are killed every day in the U.S. as a result of distracted driving. And being on your phone makes you 3 times more likely to have a crash. So now, let's take a deeper dive into why distracted driving is so dangerous and how attentive driving helps you to avoid potentially deadly accidents. For starters, there are 3 types of distractions: visual, manual, and mental. Visual distractions take your eyes off the road. This includes anything from looking at someone who got pulled over to turning your head to talk to the passenger. Now, manual distractions take one or both of your hands off of the wheel for something non-driving related. A common example is eating or drinking while driving. And lastly, mental distractions. Mental distractions take your mind off of driving. Daydreaming is one of the most common mental distractions. Let's learn more about the importance of attentive driving from one of our operators.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another discussion on attentive driving. Attentive driving is so important because it's a foundation to everything we learn about preventing accidents. If you aren't paying attention, you can't avoid risk. Each type of distraction you just saw is extremely dangerous. They can, and often do, cause fatal collisions. However, combine one or more of these types of distractions and you have a recipe for disaster. That's why texting and driving is so dangerous. It combines all three types. It's a visual distraction because your eyes are looking at your phone. It's a manual distraction because you're using at least one hand to text. And it's a mental distraction because your mind is on the conversation, not on defensive driving. I'm sure you know that for Transdev operators, using your cell phone while driving is never acceptable. The best thing to do is turn your cell phone off and stow it away while you drive. Being distracted behind the wheel, whether it's visually, manually, or mentally, comes with many risks. The two biggest are inattention blindness and slower reaction and response time. The first, inattention blindness, is when you're looking at the road but you don't process everything you're seeing. This most often happens to drivers who are daydreaming or talking on the cell phone. You must be paying attention because you're looking at the road, right? Not true. Estimations indicate that drivers using cell phones look at but fail to see up to 50% of the information in their driving environment. That's like if you were driving on a road with 10 other vehicles, but 5 of them were invisible. It's not hard to see how this could lead to an accident. And that goes for hands-free devices too. Regardless of the task, if it doesn't have to do with defensive driving, it puts you at risk for having an accident. Distracted driving also means that you have a slower reaction and response time. This one is simple to understand. You won't respond as quickly as you normally would to situational demands, like a car cutting you off or traffic suddenly stopping ahead. When you have a slower reaction and response time, you might have to perform a panic stop. Even worse, you might not be able to stop in time to avoid a collision in the first place. There's a lot that can go wrong when you're distracted behind the wheel. But here's the beauty of it. You can easily make yourself safer by being an attentive driver. With attentive driving, you'll see the risk around you and avoid inattention blindness. You'll be quick enough to safely react to your changing environment. You'll prevent accidents because you'll see problems ahead of time. Will you be a distracted driver or an attentive driver? The choice is yours to make every moment you spent behind the wheel.
Whether it's your cell phone, a talkative passenger, or an accident on the shoulder, taking your eyes or mind off of the road for even a second means that you miss tons of crucial information. That's information that you need in order to drive defensively. What do you stand to miss if you're distracted? Well, for one, the car in front of you suddenly stopping out of nowhere. The light coming up that's turning red. The stop sign at the four-way intersection you're approaching. Perhaps worst of all, you might miss a pedestrian stepping out in front of your vehicle. Missing anything on the road can lead to an accident, and it only takes 1 second of not paying attention. That's why attentive driving is so important. Always make sure to look ahead 15 seconds. Look around. Change your point of focus every 2 to 3 seconds. Check your mirrors every 5 to 8. Actively look for risks and plan how to avoid them. If you're doing that, it's hard to get distracted. Leave room on all 6 sides of your vehicle, especially in front. And communicate your intentions to everyone sharing the road with you. Here's one last method for avoiding distractions when you're behind the wheel. Just say wait. Whether it's reaching for something or messing with the radio or answering the phone, just say wait. Whatever it is, it's not as important as attentive driving. You're a professional operator. Your passengers and the public are counting on you. Their safety is in your hands. We know you're up for the task, and we know you can be both attentive and defensive. Thanks for joining us today on this important topic. It will take you, and it will take all of us to make today a perfect safety day. See you next time.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that one and got some tips on how to stay focused out on the road. Our next video will be hazard communication, lockout, tagout. Now, in our line of work, we don't require the drivers to fuel a vehicle. We don't require the drivers to check every ounce of fluid inside the vehicle. But it is your right to know what exactly is in the bus. We have what is known as a safety data sheet. There are two of them. One in our safety manager's office, Jamie Ogilvie, and of course in the maintenance department. It is required by OSHA that we let you know, and you have the legal right to see what are these chemicals, as well as lockout, tagout. If you're still not sure what that is, basically when a vehicle is not ready to be moved or maintenance is still working on it, they will cover the steering wheel with a special cautionary enclosed steering wheel cover. It is very important though that you do not move the vehicle, start the vehicle in any way if these covers are on the steering wheel. That is essential for your safety. But here is a few more tips with this video.
As part of our injury and illness prevention efforts, we're covering two important topics today: hazard communication and lockout tagout. These procedures are mandatory topics from OSHA, and they exist to give you information that will help you avoid injury and illness on the job. They could even save your life. Hazard communication is a process used to inform you of the risks that certain chemicals and materials pose if inhaled, touched, or consumed. Now, as a professional operator, there are very few situations where you'll come into contact with chemicals or hazardous materials. However, there are a couple of things that you do need to understand. First, chemical manufacturers and importers are required to provide warning labels and safety data sheets for any chemicals or hazardous materials that could potentially pose a hazard. And we are required to have these labels and safety data sheets available for you to review. Your interactions with chemicals will be few and far between, but if you do come across a hazardous chemical, you'll want to know what to do to protect yourself and others. So let's hear from an operator to learn more.
Fortunately, there are very few hazardous materials in our business. Even so, the ones that you may encounter are dangerous. They fall into two classifications: physical hazards and health hazards. Let's start with physical hazards. These are sometimes called safety hazards. Physical hazards are chemicals or materials that can hurt you right away or cause damage. They include combustible and flammable liquids, battery acid, compressed gases, and some cleaning agents. Health hazards are more likely to hurt you over a longer period of time. Sometimes with a health hazard, you don't even know that it's hurting you. A health hazard could show up as a simple skin rash, or you could develop something a lot more serious, like cancer, and everything in between the two. Health hazards can be acute, meaning you could have an immediate reaction, or chronic, meaning the symptoms may slowly develop over time. As an operator, the hazardous materials you could be exposed to include diesel fuel, gasoline, motor oil, and antifreeze. Although OSHA has not established a standard for diesel exhaust as a unique hazard, it's important to know the dangers. Short-term exposure to diesel exhaust can cause headache, dizziness, and irritation to your eyes, nose, and throat. Long-term exposure can increase your risk of cardiovascular, cardiopulmonary, and respiratory disease and lung cancer. Do what you can to limit direct exposure to exhaust fumes. That's why Transdev prohibits anyone from refueling in an enclosed area and absolutely prohibits refueling buses with passengers on board.
Now you know a little bit about why hazardous materials are dangerous. However, Each type of hazardous material is dangerous in its own way, and there could be unique things you need to do to protect yourself. That's why you need to read and follow hazardous material labels and safety data sheets. All of the hazardous materials and chemicals in our workplace have labels. They are either part of the packaging or stuck on with adhesive. Labels don't tell you the whole story. All they do is provide you with a quick snapshot of the potential dangers. Labels include a signal word, pictogram, and hazard statement for each hazard class and category. For example, if you came into contact with diesel fuel, you'll see this label. This label is part of the globally harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemical. Notice how it provides information about health, physical, and environmental hazards. As you can see, the first pictogram tells you this product is flammable. The second pictogram, prevention, tells you how to keep yourself safe. The third pictogram indicates that it's also a health hazard. Be sure to read the label before handling any chemical. For more information on the hazards of a specific chemical or hazard, you can read the safety data sheet. Transdev is required to have safety data sheets available to any employee to read. Ask your manager if you'd like to review it. Labels and safety data sheets are the communication part of hazard communication, but the information alone doesn't keep you safe. You need to exercise caution and protect yourself from injury and illness related to hazardous materials. Let's hear from our operator again to see what you can do to protect yourself.
As we said earlier, there are very few chemicals or hazardous materials you'll come into contact with at Transdev. However, you will want to protect yourself. The best way to do that is to put something between you and that material. That something is called personal protective equipment, or PPE. When fueling, checking motor oil, or even dealing with antifreeze, wear safety glasses and gloves. You can also protect yourself by exercising a little caution. For example, no one should ever fuel a bus while it's running. Perhaps most importantly, never, ever drink anything from an unlabeled container or bottle. You don't know what it is, and it could be harmful or poisonous. Overall, if you ever have any questions or concerns about a material or chemical, it's best to be informed. Consult a safety data sheet and talk to your manager or supervisor.
Now that takes care of hazard communication when it comes to materials and chemicals. Now, there's another hazard that we need to cover today. It deals with electricity. Sometimes our buses aren't safe or ready to operate. This is because maintenance is currently working on it or needs to do more work to make it safe for you to operate. This is where the lockout tagout procedure comes into play. When you see a steering wheel cover on a bus like this, do not start the bus under any circumstances. This steering wheel cover is alerting you that the vehicle should not be started or moved. It means that someone is either working on it or it's unsafe to start. You could seriously hurt yourself or someone else if you started one of our vehicles with the lockout tagout cover on it. Think of lockout tagout as another way that Transdev communicates hazards to you. It helps keep you safe from the hazard of operating a bus before it's ready. So remember, utilize labels and safety data sheets when it comes to hazardous materials. Don't eat, drink, or touch anything in an unmarked container. And remember to follow our lockout tagout procedures. It's all part of making today and every day a perfect safety day. Thanks for your time and attention today on this important subject. See you next time.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that particular video. Next one, avoiding and preventing pedestrian and cyclist collisions. In our day-to-day focus, yes, our job is to drive that bus safely, pick up our passengers, take them from their point A to their point B safely, and then you return safely. But as well as everybody knows, there are people out there. Yes, people out on the road. And now that COVID has started to lift more and more restrictions, we are seeing more and more people walking, running, cycling. It's imperative that we remain focused. This particular video breaks down how we use LLC when it comes to our pedestrians and bicyclists. I hope you receive many tips from this video.
everyone! Welcome back to another installment of our monthly safety initiative. My name is Lindsay, and I'm a manager here at Transdev. Just like we have in all of our past segments, we're talking today about how we can make today a perfect safety day. From the office to the shop to out on the road, a perfect safety day is a day without a preventable motor vehicle accident, a passenger or pedestrian injury requiring transport to the hospital, or an OSHA recordable employee injury. We've learned a lot of defensive driving techniques, and we need them all if we want to prevent accidents. But today, we're covering one of the most important things a Transdev professional can do. We're talking about preventing pedestrian and cyclist collisions. Now, as a professional operator, you know that lives are in your hands. It's your life, your passengers' lives, other motorists' lives, and of course, the lives of pedestrians and cyclists. In fact, pedestrians and cyclists are the most vulnerable people out on the road. Accidents with them are always severe. They're usually fatal. Think about it for a moment. What would it be like if you hit a pedestrian or a cyclist? It would change your life forever. The cold hard fact is that these accidents are sometimes caused by Transdev operators. And I guarantee that every operator who's hit a pedestrian or cyclist never thought it would happen to them. At Transdev, even one accident with a pedestrian or cyclist is unacceptable. We need you to take it seriously. You're the professional. It's up to you to prevent these accidents. Protecting the lives of people out on the road means using the 4 principles to driving safely. That's triple LC. Look ahead, look around, leave room, and communicate. We'll cover all of that today, but first, let's take a step back and answer 2 questions. What do we mean by pedestrians and cyclists? And why do accidents with them typically occur? First, a pedestrian is anyone on foot, in, or near the road. It includes people walking on the sidewalk, joggers, and people waiting at your next bus stop. Next, the term cyclist includes bicyclists and motorcyclists. In both cases, these folks are much more at risk for serious injuries in an accident than any other motorist. Now on to what causes these accidents. It's obvious why accidents with pedestrians and cyclists are severe, but why do they happen at all? Well, for one, driver workload studies show that it's hard for us to detect pedestrians and cyclists when we're behind the wheel. Sometimes, operators will be looking right at a pedestrian and not even recognize them. That's because we're so focused on other things like cars and traffic that our brains won't recognize other people on the road. That makes your job even more important. You have to actively look for pedestrians and cyclists when you're driving. Otherwise, you could miss them and cause a serious accident. Keep that in mind when we talk about how to use look ahead, look around, leave room, and communicate to prevent accidents with pedestrians and cyclists. Let's start with look ahead. We have an operator who can fill us in.
The first L in triple LC stands for look ahead. You need to focus your attention 15 seconds ahead when you're driving. Hopefully you're doing this anyways, but when you look ahead, it's important to actively look for pedestrians and cyclists. It's especially important at intersections. Intersections are the most common place you'll see pedestrians and cyclists. As you approach an intersection, actively look ahead to see if there are any pedestrians or cyclists there. Is anyone on the curb waiting to cross the street? Are there any cyclists in your lane? But remember, pedestrians and cyclists could be anywhere, not just at intersections. Actively look ahead for them at all times. And when you see them, be prepared to stop. Pedestrians and cyclists are amateurs and often take way too many risks. Pedestrians will run out into the street. They'll cross illegally. They'll dart in front of you to beat the light. Cyclists aren't any better. They'll blow stop signs and traffic signals. They'll enter the street from driveways and cut you off. Look ahead to see them and be prepared to stop.
Now that's some great advice on looking ahead for pedestrians and cyclists. It's always best to see them in advance. That way, you have time to react. Here's one thing that we haven't said yet. When you do see them, always give them the right of way. If they take a risk like running or riding out into the street, just let them. Don't wave them on, but stop for them. Pedestrians and cyclists always have the right of way. So that covers look ahead. Next is look around. What are some of the typical ways that we use look around? We change our point of focus every 2 to 3 seconds. We check our mirrors every 5 to 8 seconds. And we look left, right, and left again before we enter an intersection. You need to use all of this to look around for pedestrians and cyclists, but that doesn't cover one of the most crucial aspects of look around: rock and roll. Let's hear from our operator again. What do you do to look around for pedestrians?
It's just like you said. I change my point of focus every 2 to 3 seconds. I check my mirrors every 5 to 8. And I look left and right and left again before entering an intersection. Remember, pedestrians and cyclists can be anywhere. That's why I actively look around to spot them. I also actively look around for pedestrians and cyclists while I rock and roll. Our buses have big blind spots. People can easily slip out of view. Rock and roll lets you see around your blind spots. Before and halfway through turns, rock and roll to see around your A-frame and mirror heads. Look for people who could be hidden from view in these spots. This is especially important during a left turn. A pedestrian's walking speed matches your turning speed. If they're in your blind spot, you might not realize it until it's too late. That's why you need to rock and roll and make a square left turn. A square left turn gives you a better view of the crosswalk. When you're stopped at an intersection, rock and roll to see the blind spot in front of your bus and on the curbs. Make sure no one is crossing the street, blocked from your view. When you're changing lanes, rock and roll and check your mirrors to make sure there isn't a cyclist riding beside you. And when you're leaving service stops, rock and roll to make sure the space around your bus is clear and there aren't any pedestrians in your path or trying to catch the bus as you are pulling away.
All great advice, but that's a lot to remember for just one LLC principle. That's why you should think of it this way. You should already know when you need to look around from your new operator training. Now, just remember that anytime you look around, you need to actively look for pedestrians and cyclists as well. Next, we have leave room. The first two principles are about how you see important information about pedestrians and cyclists. Leave room is how you prevent the accident. When you stop at the intersection, leave plenty of room between you and the crosswalk. 5 feet to be exact. This helps you see the blind spot in front of the bus and prevents you from crowding pedestrians who are crossing the street. When there are pedestrians on the sidewalk, make sure you leave as much room as possible between you and them. You need this extra room in case they slip or step out into your path and get hit either by the bus or the mirror. If you're sharing the road with a cyclist, leave plenty of room by maintaining at least a 4 to 5 second following distance. You should probably leave even more room than that. The extra following distance will give you the space you need to make up for any of their mistakes. Leaving room for cyclists is extremely important, but it gets a little tricky to leave room when you're passing them. As a professional operator, what do you do to leave room in these situations?
Passing a bicyclist is a risky maneuver. That's why I try to avoid it in the first place. I look way ahead to see if there are any cyclists in my lane. That way, I can make my move in advance or just plan to stay far behind them. But if you absolutely need to pass a cyclist, pass them on their left. As you pass, leave plenty of room to your right so you don't crowd them. Most states require a 3-foot minimum. When you get back into your original lane, leave lots of room behind you so you don't cut them off. That brings us to one situation where you shouldn't pass at all. If you're approaching a turn, an intersection, or any reason to stop, don't pass them. You don't want to get in front of them and immediately stop. You risk causing them to run into the back of your bus. Only pass when you have enough time and space to do so. But again, it's best to just avoid the maneuver in the first place.
That takes care of leave room. Now, for the last LLC principle, communicate. Look ahead and look around, let you know what other people are going to do. This one lets you tell other people what you're going to do. Use your lights, signals, and your horn to communicate with pedestrians and cyclists. Drive with your low beams on at all times. This improves visibility and allows pedestrians and cyclists to see you better. Communicate with at least 3 to 5 flashes of your turn signal before turning, changing lanes, or merging. If necessary, use your horn to get the attention of a pedestrian who isn't paying attention. And whenever possible, establish eye contact. That way, you both know that the other is there. Those are all the ways to communicate with pedestrians and cyclists to avoid accidents. But there are 2 ways that you should never communicate around them. One more time, let's hear from our operator.
It's just as important to know how you shouldn't communicate as it is to know how you should communicate. First, don't use your high beams around pedestrians and cyclists. High beams can blind pedestrians and cyclists and cause them to make costly mistakes. Second, while your horn is a great tool to get the attention of a pedestrian, you should never use your horn around cyclists. It could scare them and cause them to fall, potentially into your path. Lastly, never wave on a pedestrian, a cyclist, or anyone for that matter. If you wave someone on and they get into an accident, you could be at fault. Just give them the right of way without telling them it's safe to go.
And that's Triple LC, the 4 principles to driving safely applied to pedestrians and cyclists. Actively look ahead and look around for pedestrians and cyclists whenever you're on the road. Leave plenty of room for them in every situation. And properly communicate so you both know what your intentions are. It's all valuable information, but there's one thing we absolutely don't want you to lose sight of. It's up to you to put it to use. As a professional operator, lives are in your hands, and people are counting on you. Use these principles to prevent accidents and save lives. Thank you for your dedication to protecting pedestrians and cyclists. And thanks for your dedication to making today and every day a perfect safety day. See you next time.
Transdev, train 18 from London, LA.
So I hope you enjoyed that last video. Remember, it's still very imperative to utilize the Triple LC, not just for pedestrians, but for still out on the road. Now here's some general information and reminders for you here in this month of May. In the month of May, the FTA has extended the mandate on masks till September 2021. So yes, we will still be putting on that passengers are still required to wear a mask while they ride your bus. Also, here's a customer service reminder that ADA is still in effect. We are still getting complaints of drivers still refusing to give the ramp or kneel or asking to see if they need securement. So remember, the 4-point tie-down system is still required. And if anyone, and I do mean anyone, asks for the wheelchair ramp, we are to oblige and give them the ramp. That is imperative. Last I checked, operator does not mean doctor. So you cannot deny that. Now, back by popular demand, we have everyone's favorite time. It's drive cam time. So, I know it's been a while since we've had drive cam, but let's explain again. how we're going to do this. Now, Drive Cam, guys, is of course a defensive driving tool. It records based on heavy acceleration, heavy braking, fast turns, lane departing, and of course the infamous following distance. Okay. Now here I'm going to have 3 videos for you. Now we are going to repeat each video twice so that you get a good chance to see what our particular driver has done. And then ask yourself as the professional driver what you could have done differently. So please adhere to what we are about to show you. It's very imperative. The next 2 videos you're about to see is pure cut examples of attentive driving. We need to remain focused on what is happening ahead and around. We cannot take any chances. As you approach an intersection, we are to cover the brake. Look left first, then right, then look left again. The reason why we look left twice is to ensure and know that that's where it's going to come from. That vehicle is going to hit us from the left first. But also you're looking out for your pedestrians and your cyclists. As well as we are looking 15 seconds into our future with the LLC. We're looking ahead and understanding that if that vehicle ahead of us is getting bigger, it's not getting bigger, you're getting closer. So let's get started with these first 2 videos. Well, hopefully those videos didn't do too much shock and awe, but it is very imperative to pay attention to what's happening ahead. Now, speaking on paying attention, with this video, this is very important, everyone, to understand our cell phone policy. Now, you're telling me, Jacob, how can we, what do you mean pay attention? I don't understand. Doesn't everybody keep their cell phone away? You would think that, right? In accordance with the Transdev policy, you are not allowed to have a cell phone on or cause a distraction while you are driving, okay? Please power it off, put it to silent, and put it away. Out of sight, out of mind. This is why you have your breaks. This is why you have your lunches, to view your cell phone. And if it's that imperative to be checking your cell phone, maybe it's a good day not to come to work. Because safety is our #1 priority. As well as here in California, you have to understand, if you're behind the wheel and you physically have your cell phone in your hand, you could be penalized with a ticket based on California law. So it's imperative that we put it away. It saves your life as well as the lives of everybody out on the road. So please see this next Drive Cam video. It bothered me as much as it bothered everybody else. So please watch this video. Well, all right, I hope you enjoyed that last one. Now bear in mind, we must refer to our policies at all times, especially when it comes to the cell phone. That is zero tolerance, and that is very important to remember. Also, it is California law. Now, this is usually my conclusion, but I have one more bit for you guys today. As some of you may have known, and some of you may have seen him around, we have our newer GM. His name is Brian Achas, and I'm going to introduce him right now. Come on over, Brian. Introduce yourself
Morning.
to our people.
Morning. Hi, my name is Brian Achas. I'm the new general manager. I want to thank everybody for the warm welcome I've received. While I have met a lot of you, I've not met everyone, and I'm looking forward to meeting everyone as soon as possible. This has been a great experience for me. I've been in the transit industry for about 15 years. My goals are pretty simple: to keep everybody as safe as possible, to have everybody return home in the same manner they arrived, safe and sound, and to give the best customer satisfaction we can and have the best employee satisfaction we can. This is a great industry. I know we've gone through some tough times. I think we have bright roads ahead of us here. So I look forward to meeting you, and thank you again very much.
And that being said, guys, this is the end of our safety meeting for the month of May 2021. We'll see you next month.